All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the demo on how to do your surface carving after you've already done some of the sketches on the surface. I'm showing you a couple of examples of what I've done before in previous bowls and showing you a couple different tool options that you might be able to use to get that kind of effect. That last tool, that metal loop tool with the squared off edge, is a really good one to use to finish things off and get a nice clean surface. I'm adding a couple more design elements and I'm going to draw them on with my pencil. And so you can see that I'm just adding another diagonal line into what I've already planned earlier in the last demo. And so I'm just taking my time and being very careful about the way I draw these lines. I don't want to do one continuous line to create it. I want to do short little strokes and kind of plan everything out really well and slowly as I try to connect those corners together and get a nice diagonal line. When you're using your pencil, you might leave a little bit of a groove, or you might be dry enough that the clay is just going to let you draw right onto it. But your clay should be at that point where it's leather hard right now. And you want to keep it at that point, or keep it at that stage for the time being until we say it's time for them to be dried out. So this is the consistency that you should see through the rest of the process when you're making the carvings and finishing off the form that you've created over the last couple weeks. So I'm just testing things out, making sure all those lines are lined up the way I want it, and then I'm going to start grabbing some of the actual carving tools that you have available to you. So I've used a couple different things that I'm going to be picking from. There's a metal hook tool, and I'm going to start with that one and just try to basically carve away a little bit of the clay just on the left side of my pencil line, because I'm trying to create a ledge similar to the ones that you see above in the video here. I start by sketching it very lightly and digging into the clay just a little bit at a time, and then I start to kind of pull the clay away from that line and kind of fade it out towards the left. I'm left-handed, so it's going to make sense for me to do it this way. You might have to flip it over if you want that same kind of angled fade in the carving, because you might be using your right hand and you might need to go down the line a little bit differently. Next one I'm using is the knife. So that knife blade is a really good way to start and clean up a nice straight edge. And then I'm using just the point of the blade and kind of scraping away what I don't want and kind of fading it off to the left again. So this one is a really good tool to kind of get a nice clean edge because it comes straight to a point, like a lot of the other tools too, but for some reason this one works really well when you want to shave down small amounts of clay at a time without trying to get too low into the wall. Then I switch it up again and grab a loop tool, and you can see one side has a nice flat edge to it and the other side has a round curved edge to it. I'm using the flat kind of 90-degree cornered side of it, and I'm just kind of sliding up and down the wall to kind of clean up and kind of fade the clay out towards the next pencil line. So I have a nice undercut almost on one side, and then on the other side it kind of disappears and fades into almost the exact same depth as the rest of the bowl. Then I'm coming back and then kind of just working on that transition edge. I don't want to lose that nice straight edge, and I want to be very careful about the amount of clay that's being removed. It's only a little bit at a time, not a lot of pressure. Let the tool kind of do the job for you, and then slowly work your way down to a lower level. You do not want to go too deep. If you start going too much clay or too deep of clay being removed, you're going to start putting a lot of stress on the wall, and you might even accidentally go through the wall. So you have to be very careful about the amount of clay that you take off, and you want to make sure that you keep checking and seeing how it's looking from both sides. Kind of turn it around, check from both angles, and then make sure you're not going through the wall and leaving some type of indention or some kind of mark on the inside of your bowl because the walls become way too thin and you've been actually pushing the clay out on the inside without you knowing it. You gotta be very careful about that. If that happens, you gotta maybe even add a little bit of clay over the top of it and kind of blend it back in to kind of fill up that void that you might have created on accident. So now I'm just using the very tip and point of that blade, and then I'm going to do a little bit more fading away with the loop tool and just kind of work on a nice subtle change from that ledge out to the next pencil line. clean up the edges a little bit more and make sure I like what I see before I move on to the next one. All right, keep doing it. Thanks. Good luck.